Onto the DC motor driver board. Power supplies for this board are the 5 volts and the 20-6 volts. Main fuse is F1. The general functions for this board is to control the DC motors. Needles 1, 2, and 3 on the pipetting head, which is arm 1. The Z movement of arm 2, which transports the cuvettes. In general, the DC motor control board simply controls the Z movements. It is also the main board for liquid level detect. Liquid level detect are analog signals coming from the 3 needles, and it's generated by the multi-function pipetting head board, transmitted by means of current loops to the DC motor board. Let's go through the supporting LEDs on this board. The green LD1 is simply telling you that the microprocessor is working. The red LD2 is again from the central PC, telling you that it's basically functioning. The green LD11, that tells you the onboard 5-volt power supply is correct. The red, which is LD12, if it is on, it's saying it's a reset signal. It means very little from my perspective. The yellows, LD7, LD3, LD4, LD5, and LD6, are all home positions for the Z movements. The green, LD10, on, means there is liquid level detect activated. LED 9, if it's on, means liquid level is detected for needle number 2. The green one, LD8, is for needle number 1, liquid level detect. Simply touch the needle, you'll see this light come on and off. You'll also see the light come off, on and off on that pipetting head board. This is worth looking at because it is a common issue. In general, the functions of the DC motor board are to control the Z movements of needles 1, 2, and 3, and on arm 2. Also, the liquid level detect for needles 1, 2, and 3. Any other issues with this board, I can't honestly say I've seen. I've never seen this board blow any fuses, but I suppose that is possible. The biggest fault on this board is the liquid level detect not working. Liquid level detect, as far as the circuit board, is usually not an intermittent problem. It pretty much won't work all the time for a specific needle. Let's talk for a second about the pipetting head. We're going to gang these 3 boards together. The pipetting head board, the pipetting head heating board, and the multifunction board are all located on the pipetting head. The reason why we're going to talk about these together is because they are all function so much, has many signals between the 2. The connection head board in general just directs the current to the Z movements for needles 1, 2, and 3. The pipetting head board heating has one LED yellow diode on it, and it simply says that the 26 volts is there. It's powered by a 5 volts, 12 volts, a negative 12 volts, and a plus 26 volts. For the most part, all this does is heat the heat needle number 3 block. It has a laminator resistor to tell you what the temperature of that block is. It also has the Y home position for the pipetting head. Multi-function pipetting headboard, which is the bottom board, is the key board here. The reason I wanted to gang these all together is because of one potential problem with these 3 boards. Typically, needle number 3 will get a leak on the top of the needle. You will not be able to see that leak in general, and you will not see the damage simply by looking at it. If you put your finger over the needle or turn it in such a way you may see a leak in the top of that tubing. Another way is if you see drops coming from needle number 3. Bottom line is this. When needle number 3 leaks at the top, that solution comes down, goes on the connector that's underneath the connecting headboard. From there it drips on down and moves its way down to the heating board. From there it gets onto the multi-function headboard. Takes off all 3 boards. Fairly easy to get to all 3, but generally all 3 are replaced together. You might get away with not replacing the connection headboard, but I can almost guarantee you the heating headboard and the multifunction board are pretty much destroyed if this should happen. The general indication of this would be liquid level detect not working, Y movement doesn't appear to be working, in other words you might get needles crashing, and a lot of times needle number 3 temperature will be out of specs. If you get needle number 3 temperature out of specs, I can almost guarantee you that is the issue. Head 3 doesn't go out of temperature for any other reason in general. I think I should say assuming somebody doesn't misadjust it. But for the most part, if you see any of those malfunctions, be suspicious of this area. It is not hard to take the boards apart. Once you take the boards apart, the damage is very easily seen. Back to the multifunction board. Potentiometer P1 is on the pipetting headboard. This controls the temperature for needles number 3, which we will talk about later. There's also some diodes on this board. Yellow LED 4 says the Y1 home position is detected. Take the arm, put it all the way back to the back. There's a little steel slot on the side of the pipetting headboard. It goes through the 0 detector, and LED 4, yellow, comes on. Green, LED 1. If it is on, it means your Z1 home position is detected. You can take pipetting head and move it back and forth. When you get in its proper Z position, that light will come on. The red, which is LED 5, is a liquid level detection for needle number 1. When you touch that, it should come on. LD2, which is green, comes on if the Z2 home position is detected. In other words, needle 2 home position. Put the needle all the way up, and that LED will come on. The red, which is LED6, is a liquid level detect for needle number 2. Touch needle number 2, LD6 should come on red. LD3, which is green. If it's on, Z3 home position has been detected. Move the needle up and down, Z movement. By the way, sometimes these Z movements will move easily, depend on what state the instrument is in, and sometimes they will not because they are being driven. Red LED7 is on for the liquid level detect of needle 3. All of these liquid level detects are worth paying special attention to during the endurance. One of the common problems with this section is the fact that the liquid level detect light doesn't come on. There's several reasons why this could be. Most common is the liquid level detect wire has come off. Second reason is that liquid level detect wire is broken. Third reason would be you have water in one of the Z tubes. In other words, you have a leak in the tubing and water has gotten into the Z tube. If that happens, that liquid level detect will not work. I will tell you at this point too, if you just bleach the system, you need to make sure that bleach is removed because bleach will make the liquid level detect not work. That's an uncommon problem. And of course, I mentioned earlier, water getting down into the from a leak onto the pipetting headboards will also cause a liquid level detect issue. Those are the common problems for that. But it is important to watch them because, especially in endurance, because this can be very intermittent, and you watch these and watch to see if the light comes on before the needle actually goes into a reagent bottle. If you see the needle go down, it doesn't go into the bottle, it stops at the top, but then the light comes on, that's your issue. Very, very common. It also, that could be caused by any functions I just mentioned. At this time I also mentioned the Z motors. Sometimes the gear can become loose, and that will cause it not to go all the way down. That does some funky things, actually. If you have a needle crash, that can also be a source of that. And again, I mentioned common problem. The pipetting head, the pipetter. I will tell you I see very few problems with the pipetter. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen anything with the pipetter cause a failure other than it getting dirty. Very easy to clean the pipetter off. I suppose I've seen a couple of motors fail once in a while, but for the most part that's pretty steady. I can't remember ever replacing a zero detect board ever. Stepper motors, meaning for the XY movement, very seldom do they give you any problem. This is a pretty solid instrument. I can't remember ever replacing one. I think in arm 2 I've seen the gear strip off maybe once or twice in 10 years. Power supplies for this board are the 5